From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Tuesday morning. It's 6 o'clock. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thank you so much for getting your day started with us.
And I'm Ed McIntosh. We got a little bit of activity to get things started today. Showers around, a lot of wind around, and as we take a look with the first interstate iCam, we've had a few showers move through the Billings area. At 36, that's a pretty mild start, but the wind gusts make it feel a lot colder out there, and it's blowing a bit of that precipitation around, especially once we start looking off towards the east of Billings now. Temperatures across Montana and northern Wyoming are pretty much in the mid-20s to the mid-30s, some upper 30s in a few locations, but we're looking at these showers moving across along with periods of wind. So as the line of showers moves into the eastern plains, it's also taking some of those wind gusts from around Billings and pushing them across eastern Montana. Right now you see Jordan and Glasgow starting to see some of those winds over 35 miles per hour. And some wind gusts around 40 will continue into eastern Montana through this afternoon. So pretty much all of the moisture seems to be right along this line, but it's not going to put a lot of snow on the ground, but it will cause some visibility concerns in a few slick spots, maybe an inch or two for higher elevations. Temperatures into the 30s to even some low 40s this morning. Check out contrast like areas in Cold Creek at 26, but right now Belfry, the last report was at 40 degrees. Temperatures warming up today, likely hitting only the upper 30s to low 40s, so temperatures stay fairly flat, and then the sky starts to clear out later on in the day. And today we are observing the beginning of meteorological winter.
All right, and the other
astronomical winter.
Yeah, that's keep calling it the other one.
Yeah, where we have the shortest day for sunlight as the sun reaches the point farthest in south of the equator, and then we begin to get the days longer. So that's what we usually think about with winter, but the winter weather patterns start today, really, or at least roughly today, in general terms. So we see colder temperatures for December, January, and February. So as far as the weather goes, that's what we consider winter.
Got it. I understand now.
Okay.
Don't ask me to explain it back to you, but I got it. So the astronomical winter starts, that's December 21st?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm getting this little by little.
But I know between now and then I'll get some emails saying, why do you call it winter weather? It's not officially winter yet.
Oh, yes,
and I'll go,
is.
Doggone it, yes.
Look at this. All right. He has the proof. We have lots of news, Ed, so I'll get to it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Billings police are looking for the suspect who shot a man multiple times, leaving him to die in the street and eventually get run over by a passing car. The shooting happened outside of a church on the 300 block of Broadwater Avenue just before 9 o'clock last night. Police say the victim was a 30-year-old male who was pronounced dead on scene. Billings Police Sergeant Matt Linick tweeted just before 2 o'clock this morning, no arrests have been made. The driver of the vehicle that struck the victim stopped at the scene and spoke with police. He told officers the man was lying in the street when he ran him over. Police were seen putting evidence markers in front of Evangelical United Methodist Church, where the victim's cell phone and footprints were found. Broadwater Avenue was closed between 3rd Street West and 8th Street West for several hours, but is now open. On to election news. Arizona and Wisconsin both certified their 2020 election results. Both battleground states declared President-elect Joe Biden the winner on Monday. In Wisconsin, he beat President Trump by roughly 20,000 votes. In Arizona, Biden's margin of victory was even more narrow, with just over 10,000 ballots separating the two candidates. The president has yet to concede the race. Montana's election results were officially certified by the Secretary of State on Monday. The final step in making the results official, the state canvassing board met in Helena to compare state and county voting records to make sure all votes were accounted for. No changes were made to the projected outcomes of major state or federal races. Well, professional baseball has a future in Billings, but with some changes ahead for the Mustangs. Q2 Sports Director Scott Breen has the details.
Well, the good news, Billings will have professional baseball this summer. The so-so news, it won't necessarily be Mustangs baseball we've grown to know over 67 years. The Mustangs and all 8 Pioneer League teams will become members of a Major League Baseball Partner League. That means your Mustangs transition from affiliated partner status with the Cincinnati Reds to an independent team. It's an announcement that brings closure to months of uncertainty surrounding the future of professional baseball in Billings.
And you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, it is an audible, huge sigh of relief.
One of my first questions, will they still be called the Mustangs? That answer is yes. According to a joint release this morning from Major League Baseball and the Pioneer League, all squads will maintain their existing names, brands, and logos.
I don't know, what Dave Heller's plan is for here at this particular time, but there's been no mention of changing the Mustangs name, no mention of any of that sort of thing. Right now we're looking at a 92-game schedule. That could change one way or the other a few games. We haven't really looked at the calendar specifically about, is it going to be 92, is it going to be 90, is it going to be 80? So probably means a little bit earlier start for us, perhaps early to later in May versus mid to late June.
Last summer would have been the 68th year of minor league baseball in Billings, but COVID-19 eliminated that. No minor league baseball was played anywhere across the country. Monday's announcement brings closure to a year when major league and minor league owners have engaged in an absolute street fight over what's next. The pandemic certainly didn't help, accelerating contraction talks and inhibiting fans from giving teams like your Mustangs a proper farewell. It also just happened to hit in the final year of a deal between minor league teams and Major League Baseball owners who want to take complete control of player development, save money, draft fewer players, and keep them geographically closer to home, meaning closer to big league cities. Within the process, 42 minor league teams, including the Mustangs and all others in the Pioneer League, were thrust onto the chopping block of no longer being considered minor league affiliates.
We're going to see kids that are free agents that are not drafted through the Major League Draft. We also have access to players that have been released by Major League organizations. So the pool of players is going to be larger. We know that. It's just going to be up to us and the other 7 clubs to go get their players.
So there you have it. Mustangs will be back next summer. In all likelihood, will keep their name, likeliness, and logo, and will be professional baseball. In the Pioneer League, they'll simply not be affiliated any longer with the Cincinnati Reds or any other Major League Baseball team. Scott Breen, MTN Sports.
And Scott also tells us the Pioneer League joins the Atlantic League, the American Association, and the Frontier League as an MLB partnership. In other news, we're learning about a fatal vehicle versus train crash that took the life of a 17-year-old. It happened last Tuesday evening as local tribal officers were pursuing the teenager's vehicle between Gary Owen and Lodgegrass. The Montana Highway Patrol reports the boy was attempting to outrun law enforcement. Officials say he failed to negotiate a curve, crashed through some brush, and struck a BNSF train head-on. MHP says the 2015 Chevrolet Malibu was thrown from the rails, consumed by fire. The trooper says the teen was not wearing a seatbelt, and alcohol and drugs and speed are all considered factors. Q2 has not been able to confirm the teenager's name. Tens of millions of doses of the COVID-19 vaccine could be available this month. Today, the CDC is expected to shed light on who will be first in line. But as CBS's Deborah Alfarone reports, more urgently, state and local officials are scrambling to control the spread of the virus.
Today, the Centers for Disease Control is holding an emergency meeting to recommend who should get the coronavirus vaccine first.
Vaccinations? That is going to be the weapon that will end the war.
Governors will have the final say, but the CDC is expected to prioritize the elderly and healthcare workers.
Of course, with the positivity rates being high, we have both staff members, nursing, as well as ancillary staff members that are in quarantine.
If the FDA approves vaccines from Moderna and Pfizer, 40 million doses could be shipped out this month.
This is going to be one of the most challenging public health distribution efforts we've seen. It's going to be hard to imagine this going off without a hitch.
It will take months before vaccines are widely available to the public.
The challenge is going to be to convince people to get vaccinated.
Dr. Anthony Fauci told Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg he hopes at least 75% of the country gets vaccinated.
By the end of the second quarter of the year, you could have enough protection in this country that the pandemic as we know it will be well suppressed below the danger point.
Facing record hospitalizations right now, some governors are considering new restrictions to slow the spread.
If these trends continue, we're going to have to take much more dramatic arguably drastic action.
In Rhode Island, hospitals are full for the first time. Patients are now being sent to field hospitals for care. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Rhode Island health officials are hoping to keep capacity at the field hospitals under 50%, but are fearful a post-Thanksgiving surge will stretch resources even thinner. And closer to home, the Bullock administration announced it will scale back COVID-19 relief reimbursement for local governments in Montana. The administration originally allocated $300 million of federal aid to help cities and counties with expenses related to the pandemic, but now that's being reduced to about $200 million. Governor Bullock's office says new COVID-19 expenses for local governments, such as overtime pay and additional staff needed to respond to the health crisis, will still get covered. But it says items that had already been budgeted won't be reimbursed, and the new requirements apply to expenses incurred after October 31st. Bullock says the money not spent on local governments will go toward grants that help small businesses and enhanced unemployment benefits for those out of work. And as Congress comes back into session this week in Washington, it remains unclear whether it can agree on another bill offering pandemic-related relief for businesses and other entities or individuals. Both of Montana's U.S. Senators, Republican Steve Daines and Democrat John Tester, told MTN News they'd like to see a bill passed. Daines said he's introduced several bipartisan bills, including ones that would forgive prior loans to small businesses or offer relief to businesses with fewer than 50 employees. He says he'd like to see them passed or incorporated into a larger bill. His office also says Democratic leaders in Congress have rejected earlier efforts to compromise. Tester says negative effects from the pandemic are getting worse and a substantial aid package is needed right now.
We could get a bill out that have $1.25 trillion, between $1.25 trillion and $1.75 trillion in it that's very, very targeted. I think it would do a lot of good for the economy. If we want to let these businesses fall through the cracks, if we want to let local governments default, I think that's really, really bad practice, and it isn't good for our long-term economic health.
Tester also says he believes that President-elect Joe Biden is supportive of a COVID relief package. Well, there's more water problems on the campus of MSU Billings. As of Monday afternoon, a water main leak has affected several buildings, including the drinking water and bathrooms. Affected buildings include the PE building, Cecil Hall, Rimrock Hall, the Student Union building, and McMullen Hall. University officials say no one should use the restrooms, showers, or drink the water in these buildings until further notice. Employees at McMullen Hall are encouraged to work from home today if possible. Porta potties and drinking water are being delivered.